The Leafs are making moves as they have made a bit of a surprising roster move. And this is very interesting. It could pay big dividends going forward. We're going to tell you exactly what that is and discuss what this means, as well as discuss an injury update surrounding Auston Matthews. There's been a bit of concern following him missing some time in the U.S. game. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We're getting close to 15,000 subscribers. If you want to help us towards that goal, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. Now, obviously, Four Nations Cup Saturday is the big game. Leafs versus the USA. It's going to be fantastic. However, in the meantime, we have some Leafs news for you guys because finally they've returned to the ice. Of course, the players who aren't involved in the Four Nations Cup. And Darius, there's a lot of things to go over today. And obviously, we've been discussing on this channel a lot about obviously trades, things like that. But they actually made a move internally, and it is in the form of Alex Steeves. You can see here, at least most of them anyway, are back on the ice this afternoon at the practice complex. You can see here, the performance complex. Alex Steeves isn't on the ice as the Marlies practice begins. The Leafs are scheduled to practice later this afternoon, so that started to bring up some questions. Will Alex Steeves be called up? And, of course, he is. The Leafs have just called up Alex Steeves from the Toronto Marlies. So this is very interesting. Now, obviously, this is we still expect trades to happen. The trade deadline is approaching, but they are probably trying to get a final look at Alex Steeves and see what he brings to the team before they decide on what moves to make surrounding the trade deadline in the next month or so. And we'll dive into it here in a minute. Alex Steeves has been absolutely dominant with the AHL, or in the AHL, sorry, with the Marlies, setting Marlies records, all these different things. And now he gets a chance to play with the Leafs once again, and I could see him making a pretty big impact on that fourth line.
Yeah, so things are about to get really interesting because obviously the Four Nations Cup is going to Four Nations Face Off. It's going to wrap up on Thursday and teams are returning to action on Saturday. The Leafs return to action Saturday and Sunday. So things are about to get ramped up. Like GMs are going to start wanting to make trades. The deadline is less than a month away at this point. So I think that this is the Leafs calling Steeves up because not only because he's playing great, right? Because he is playing great with the Marlies and to give him another look with the Leafs, but it's to see, what they have in some of these players in the Marlies. Do they have to go out and make certain trades, or can they call up a guy like this and he can fill a role? So I think that's kind of what this is. And we'll see, heading into this weekend, what kind of a role he does play, because I don't think Pontus Holmberg is the answer anymore at third line center, right? They're probably going to have to make some type of trade, but I think that they're just trying to see what they have within the organization, Brad Living that is, and what type of move he is going to go out and make. And on top of all of that, like I mentioned and alluded to, Alex Steeves has deserved it. He plays, he's been playing an amazing season so far this year. He's had a great season. He's setting records with the Marlies. Nobody in the history of the Marlies is as good as Alex Steeves at this point. So he's been playing really well this season. He deserves the call up. I don't know if he's actually been called up at all this season, maybe once for one game or something like that earlier this season. So he does deserve it. He's been playing really well, and I'm excited to see what he can do for the team. But again, I don't know if he's necessarily the answer, but the Leafs are back. They all reported this afternoon they're going to be practicing, and it's nice to see. On the other hand, before I throw it over to you again, Nick, it could be the fact that they're missing like Auston Matthews, William Nylander at practice. Maybe they just called him up to fill in a spot, but he has deserved it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him play this weekend.
Yeah, I'd have to assume he's going to probably play this weekend, especially given how good his performance has been. If you're unfamiliar, let's go ahead and look at it. The Leafs recalled AHL's leading goal scorer, not just Marlies, AHL's leading goal scorer, Alex Steeves. He has 29 goals in 40 games, and he broke his career high 26 fewer games. He's clearly leveled up this season, will now look to break into the Leafs lineup. So it seems like, according to Kyle Kushman, he is going to be in at least fighting for a spot in the lineup. You're talking about Pontus Holmberg. Hopefully they're going to upgrade that spot. Even in the fourth line, Connor Dewars, they've been healthy scratching him a little bit. They obviously have Ryan Reeves, of course, David Kempf, of course, Steven Lorentz as well. Throwing in another goal scorer in Alex Steeves, giving him an actual bit of runway. I believe he did play, early in the season, very, very briefly for the Leafs. It was a very short stint, and it is super intriguing. Now you can see here, again, he played 4 games with the Leafs so far, and 40 AHL games for the Marlies this year, 29 goals, 17 assists. Like, he's been absolutely dominant. Even last year, he still put up a solid amount of goals, putting up 27 goals in, obviously a bit more games, but it's extremely interesting. And he's a guy that I think he'll come in and really give this team some much needed depth goal scoring. They don't really have it right now when you look at the third and fourth line. Like, Nick Robertson's supposed to give you that. He hasn't been able to do it. The fourth line, that's more of a gritty line. You're not going to really expect much goal scoring out of that. The third line, you have Pontus Holmberg again with Nick Robertson. They need some more goal scoring, and especially in the bottom 6. I think Alex Steeves, let's not forget, he's only 25 years old. I think they're going to give him a chance now ahead of the deadline to see not only what he can bring, But if they're shipping off Nick Robertson in trades and they're expecting package there is a real chance where they trade for a third line center, package Nick Robertson, and then need someone to replace him on the third line wing. And if Alex Steeves can show even part of what he's showing with the Marlies, it can make some sense here to be a little bit of a tryout prior to what's going to be a big trade, we assume, surrounding Nick Robertson.
I was actually going to bring up exactly that. What if they end up moving out Nick Robertson? Maybe Alex Steeves has a role on the team moving forward, right? That he can kind of come into. Again, he's young. I think a lot of people forget that, maybe you'd like to see him full time at the NHL level by this point, by 25, 26 years old, but maybe he's on his way now, right? Like he's fully developed at the AHL level. I mean, look what he's done this season. I don't know if he's going to score 29 goals at the NHL level, but we've seen it with a guy like Bobby McMahon slowly taking strides year after year, and now he's a regular NHLer. And again, I don't know if he's going to score 30 goals at the NHL level, but he's figured it out at the AHL level, and I'm sure he can chip in for some depth scoring, which the Leafs desperately need. I don't think it's because of the personnel, though. I think it's more of the play style, and the Leafs are too perimeter based and pass around the perimeter too much. But this guy knows how to get to the net. He's underrated physically, too, from everything I've seen when he's been with the Leafs. Again, I don't watch too many Marlies games in depth or anything like that, but, from time I've seen him with the Leafs and highlights with the Marlies, like underrated physically. He can use his body, and he knows how to find the back of the net. We know that. So I'm excited to see what he can do with the Leafs. And he's found some confidence too. There's been seasons in the past where they call him up because they're in a tight pinch with a couple guys injured, and maybe he's not having the greatest season, and he comes up and he's not doing much, right? It's just a body filling in there on the fourth line and the third line. He's found his confidence now. He can put the puck in the back of the net. So I want to see what he can do to take that next step to the NHL level, because this is a guy who, we've been waiting for a little while, and I wasn't sure. He was kind of teetering NHL, AHL. It looks like Bobby McMahon, maybe he can make some noise at this point of the season. Maybe he gets, sent back down, and then we'll see what happens next year too.
Yeah, this is the fourth year for him with the Leafs / Marlies, and he's only 25. He's having this is his big breakout year for him, at least in the AHL. So they're going to reward him with obviously the increased salary with the Leafs, as well as just obviously now getting a chance to break the lineup. And I think there is something to be said about the lack of production with Pontus Holmberg on the third line, Nick Robertson on the third line, and seeing how everybody, even Max Pacioretty hasn't been great as of late as well. Like there's spots open for if somebody can come, just like Bobby McMahon did. He penciled himself in now into an everyday player, an everyday role. Prior to the season, there were conversations about, obviously we all knew he had a bit more skill than some of the other guys, but he really solidified himself in the lineup. So there's an opportunity for that with Alex Steeves. So let us know down below what your thoughts are on that. A couple other things surrounding Auston Matthews. He's dealing with an upper body injury, which is why he missed the game against the U.S. Mike Sullivan didn't comment any further on the injury other than Matthews is nicked or banged up. So hopefully he's going to be okay. I don't think this is anything super serious. The game meant nothing. They were resting Connor Hellebuck. They were resting a bunch of their guys. And we're seeing now, whether it be with players on the Bruins, players on a bunch of different teams going down with injuries, Charlie McAvoy as well. Like there's a lot of injuries going on. So if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think you're pretty fine with Auston Matthews being left out of this game. Now, hopefully he plays. I mean, I guess hopefully he plays depending on Saturday, because Auston Matthews and Team Canada or versus Team Canada is gonna be interesting as a Leafs fan to watch. But it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. And they just came out and announced that he's expected to play. But the fact that he was held out, I would be okay if he was held out of this game for precautionary reasons. Like he was held out because this is a nothing game and we want him to be ready for Thursday, right? That makes perfect sense to me. But they said he has an upper body injury or something's, bothering him. That's concerning to me for when he returns to the Leafs, and the fact that he is going to play Thursday through whatever he's dealing with. And it's probably the same thing he's been dealing with all season. So yes, that is a little concerning to me. We'll see how he plays on Thursday, but I would have been fine if they were just like, hey, he's being held out for precautionary reasons. We don't want him to get hurt. This is a nothing game. That would have been fine. But for them to come out and say it's an upper body injury, I'm a little bit worried. So we'll see. I'll be quite disappointed if he does not play for the Leafs on Saturday. I'll put it that way. And I think all Leafs fans can share that sentiment.
Yeah, I think hopefully he will. A couple other things, Nylander, his performance was all right. We got some more wins and went to the final. That's where he obviously wishes he got there, but they played well. And of course, are they disappointed? Of course, I'm going to text him now. I don't know what happened. Hopefully he's good to go. And the Leafs are obviously the priority right now. But Saturday is going to be one of the craziest games or Thursday, sorry. It's going to be one of the craziest games that we've seen in really in the past decade for a lot of fans out there. So depending if your team is winning the cup, but as Leafs fans, we haven't seen many playoff series wins in a while. So it's going to be exciting to watch. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.